fast forward, any come out watching you so aha age politics avenue. Near podcast or say training make make headline. And a gemre need you Akroma need the near Braxi mo Mr. say young political habits in so a jet dema enya some kotwakra. Na a Yambua Monday 10th November 10th November moon. Yes, 10th November. And Parliament aje atum se omo ebebeti CJ na otima baba the substantive Chief Justice Eddie Ama His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. The sanse mo say na minority se omo ntiase any aponyo markets any court enyasem I beg your pardon Parliament enyasem koto akra. Any yentiase ese mo follow due process ni ade ade. The science any yentiase the speaker say ana majority for say there be a minority for say and so yentiase mamunye. Now we say in a governance expert David Abdullahi, Mr. David Abdullahi, etimi ajemre na obonchire say what it to amanyu semana ho a say na wo hwa ebekwa Nyamboa, Duada, 10th, no, Share. So what it to and Semana Cassa, one, tribute to one, the Marano to one, among you, some one. Minority for no more case, and now set in Kono, or more case, crana, majority which me a jina a year or number so, Eddie over Rido. Kiss no, Papa Ajamre, or boying troop, you won't room in Renia. Age politics.
David Abdullahi is a governance expert. He's joined us on the matter of this vetting process to do or not to do, the speaker rules that we will do, but the minority places last hand, which is to ask for updates on that petition. David, thank you so much for joining us here, Prof. How do you think this is playing?
Well, thank you for having me, Kemeni. I think I've always believed that one person cannot hold the whole country to ransom. If you look at it clearly, the former Chief Justice went through the process laid down by the Constitution, and she's no longer the Chief Justice. If she's no longer the Chief Justice, why would she try to put an injunction on an appointed Chief Justice to go through the processes? It doesn't make any sense. I think the speaker, came up with a very brilliant answer to what the issues were. And one of the issues is that, you cannot hold Parliament not to do its prescribed duties to the people of Ghana because a case is pending in court. But also, he also ruled that if you look at it clearly, that there is no constitutional rule or, by their standing orders that is asking or that prevents Parliament from listening or its committees to listen to the new Chief Justice and have it go through the processes. And finally, he talked about the fact that this is going to cause more of a precedent, a dangerous precedent, which means another arm of government can hold the Parliament incognito for working or for delivering its legal duty, the constitutional duty, because someone has filed a petition or has filed a motion in court. So I believe that has brought an end to this debate.
I see, but David,
sure,
David, yes. When you look at the issue in its entirety, and again, I'd have to say, based on what we have heard from the Speaker's ruling, there was no consideration of the petition against the acting Chief Justice and Chief Justice nominee now to be vetted on Monday. And so when we put all that into the piece, should that have been taken into consideration, for which reason Parliament should have staggered its progress of wanting to vet the Chief Justice nominee?
No, but the crux of the matter is there is no constitutional rule or none of the standing orders that makes it in such a way that Parliament should not vet the nominee.
But then the question, then David, the question will be, why would you want to vet somebody for a position where his or her conduct is being questioned already? Remember, there is the backdrop that a similar petition led to the removal of a Chief Justice. Why would we want to go through that process again should this petition hold water?
No, I don't think it's going to hold water. How do we know? How do we know that the appointed Chief Justice, has committed what the petitioners are talking about?
But David, how do we not know? How do we then not know? I throw your question back to you. How do we then not know that indeed any action has been done, or whether or not the allegations against the acting Chief Justice holds true, because we haven't heard anything?
Yes, but I mean, one can also ask you that, how do you know that the executive has received the petition? All these are things that we cannot say, but I would surmise that it is a way of the minority trying to, delay things. And Kamini, in this country, when you take a case to court, you know how long it takes. I mean, so are you saying that Parliament should not undertake its duties as per the Constitution because somebody has filed a petition in court? It's not an injunction.
But what the minority is saying, that Parliament does its job but does it well in order for, for the benefit of this country. Because if you were employing somebody, if you were employing somebody and there was a police case even against the person, you'd start to ask yourself questions twice about this candidate you're looking at, right? Why can't that be the same for the case of the acting Chief Justice? In that, Prof, there are allegations of misconduct against his activities as a justice of the Supreme Court. We haven't looked into that. Maybe we have informed the Ghanaian people, and it looks like we haven't informed Parliament either. But we want to go ahead and vet him, possibly promote him as Chief Justice. How right is that? That is not going through due process, is it?
Well, Kevin, you are jumping the gun. Why wasn't the petition filed when he was not even nominated? Because he's a justice of the Supreme Court. It could have been done at that time. You don't wait until when he's been appointed and then you are coming up with a petition. That tells you that, those people have an ulterior motive. I mean, if you just wanted that he has done something wrong, make sure that it would have been filed. And he is one of the oldest in the Supreme Court, not when he was appointed. So that gives you a little bit of, when you think about it, there's an ulterior motive.
There is an ulterior. But then again, whether or not there is an ulterior motive, at this time, does not the executive owe us the duty to tell us what has happened with it, just as the minority is seeking from the presidency?
Yeah, but I'm saying from my opinion that there's an ulterior motive. If he really had done something wrong, you make sure that you bring the case against him before he was even appointed. And that is done for all the Supreme Court justices.
Right, so Prof, what I'm asking you now is, the executive has a duty. You've received the petition. You have a duty to follow the procedure.
How do you know, Kemeni, how do you know the executive has received the petition?
Why don't we know about it now?
Well, that is why they are now filing, what do you call it? To find out whether the executive has received it. But that is different from saying the executive has received it and he has not acted. Nobody knows. But as it is, that should not hold Parliament from undertaking its constitutional duty. That is what I'm saying.
Well, and I think the best part of this, Prof, is that the minority has invoked RTI on the executive. We see how and what the response will be from the executive as far as this matter is concerned. But we know that on Monday, the process is going on as it should be, as far as the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee is concerned.
and that's the right things to do. And then the minority must not forget that they don't have the supermajority that the majority has. And that is also the Constitution. And that's democracy.
I can't believe you went there.
Well, but that is it. We are talking about democracy. A majority carries the vote.
It sounds like you're telling the minority they don't have the numbers, and so they can be muscled around because they don't have the numbers.
No. They know they don't have the numbers.
But Prof, would you rather the legislature is cautious and gets it right than rush into this?
Well, Kemeni, we've all been in this country. We don't want to recall incidences. But what is very clear is that I think, the minority has a right, and in a democracy, they have the right to be able to put forward their views. But I think some of these things, we must take the nation first. We must put Ghana first. Are you saying that we should have a country that does not have a Supreme Court justice until cases are heard? And if these cases are going to take 10 years, that means you're not going to have a Supreme Court justice until that time. I think that is what we're talking about. And in this particular case, it's the president that has appointed this person. If they don't come to the hearing, obviously still, the person is going to be approved. That's what I'm saying. So let's make sure that we are practical about some of these things and not being emotional. And the practicality is that the majority have this, what do you call the supermajority? Sorry.
Very well, Prof. But Prof,
yes,
I can see that brings you a lot of joy. But you hang in there for me.
It doesn't bring me a lot of joy. It just makes me understand that we must be practical as Ghanaians and as policymakers, as well as politicians.
Very well.
We should not be irrational.
Very well, Prof. Hang in there for me. There's another matter I want to pick your thoughts on, because you remember that police assault case?
EPA's work and what is going on here, we are drinking palm nut soup as if it is light soup, which is very dangerous. Now, listening to the EPA boss who said that the longer we stayed, the more they came. So we had to run away. I've watched movies of no retreat, no surrender. But this is yes retreat, yes surrender. With all the military and then the national security with them, they could not stand Galamsey people who were armed and macho men. They had to retreat. And the sad part was the community pelting stone at them. Pelting stones at them. The whole attack started when they were at Dajuni. And from Dajuni, they had to go to Afari. It was the Afari that the accident happened when I read the story. The convoy team had to retreat. And who is going to crack the whip in this situation? The communities are compromised. The forest has been taken over. Now we have about 49 forests that we're struggling with that have been destroyed by Galamsey. We have a situation where we prescribe a lot of solutions. I have even stated that these Galamsey people are stakeholders. Because most people don't know that when we talk about internal stakeholders and external stakeholders, we even have the environment itself as a stakeholder. And who takes care of the environment? It's either the government or some NGOs that take care of the environment. So our environment is a stakeholder, and the environment is crying. If you look at the poison, lead is a poison. I know that was a big issue in Michigan when it came to elections. Lead that they found in the tap water was a big issue. That made somebody lose governorship there. Here, we have a lot of mercury being imported into the country. We have champagne not even being imported anymore, but it was being made in Ghana. We have these excavators coming in. Now we have the campaigns that once you try to, all these small boys that are being caught, the campaigns are there. Those behind these Galamsey are there. And then nobody seems to be working on it. But I have a lot of solutions that we've talked about. If we don't take care, this issue will escalate to understand that none of us can stay in the country because they are poisoning our water sources. We can't get good water to drink. The control rate, now I'm told that Dawa and a whole lot of things that we have these cyanide and mercury in them. So we are poisoning ourselves. And why the community is supporting all these people, I don't know. But we should be careful, and the government should not, relax on this. the more they push back on us. We've lost people. Remember, we lost 8 people not long ago. The same Obuasi Road. And then it seemed not to slow down. So what do? We need to do a couple of things. Journalists have come in, they've injured themselves. Somebody will have to be flown to abroad to be treated on this. We need to grab the campaigns and use them as an example for everybody to see that the government is not joking with them. 2, we need to initiate a big push for alternative livelihood for those involved. Those in these communities, mining communities, that is all they know, mining. When I went to Obuasi, I was told that those who go to even the legal mining, the food that they eat a lot is emo and abenkwine. I didn't know. So anywhere that I go, I try to learn a lot of things. When they have the rice and then abenkwine, they can be there like 2 weeks or a week under, and they can survive. That is what they know how. That is what they do every day. That is the only skill set that they have. So if you want to take it away from them, give them another alternative source of livelihood. The government should be thinking that way, that what else alternative can we give to them so that this opportunity cost of going to do galamsey will stop. We need to find something for them to do. The other one is that we need to initiate a stakeholder discussion, as we started last time. And these galamseyers are also stakeholders. Let's invite them. When I was a morning show host, I did that. I think I've said it here. Yeah. That I invited the chainsaw operators. If you go to a Tiwa forest, and they were cutting the chainsaw, they were cutting all the trees. We invited them, and they said, this is our only source of livelihood. So the government said, if we give you something alternative to do, and they agreed, they did it. And the chainsaw operating stopped. So they were going to the Forestry Commission. Now, if you even have a tree in your own, farm, you have to go to the Forestry Commission. They will give you a permit. Then you can go and cut the tree. So that is the way we need to work with them. I'm also pleading to Nananom and Achankonya. Nobody can come to your town or your land and mine without your knowledge. So Nananom should rise up. The way people are coming, not only Nananom, but the elders, the unit committees, the MPs, the MCEs, the DCs, the assembly members, everybody. If you see something, say something. Because it is the water that you are drinking that is being poisoned. And if somebody is poisoning you and you are not saying anything, I don't know what kind of person you are. So we need to look at that. The other thing is that we need to make attitude adjustment as people. The way we've been looking at, look at EPA people doing their job, protecting your environment. EPA, even before you cite, when I worked there in National Service, before you even cite a fuel station, they will have to come and see the location and see whether it is convenient for, because we've had a situation when there was a rain and then there was a fire. You remember that situation that many people died. So EPA has been protecting our environment, making sure that we are safe. Those who are protecting our safety are those who are pelting stone at. What kind of people are we? So we need to make that kind of attitudinal change. Then everybody should know that galamsey is unacceptable. We should not accept it. I said it here that it is an atasa. And Kwame was asking me what atasa was. It is an abomination. It is bad. Everybody should see it as a bad thing, because in the long term, in the short term, and in the medium term, it is going to threaten our own existence. The way we are buying water now, if you buy the 15 mml of water at the park, 12, it is now almost 40 cedis. If you go for the other one, the rubber one, what do they call it? Not the penny, but the other one, the sachet water, is 10 cedis, 9 cedis, 10 cedis. Now, people who are earning 350, 500, in a month, how many of them can buy 40 cedis worth of water? That means they are going to drink the poisonous one and they will die. Let's think about those who don't have the opportunity as we have. That's what I always think about. Then the last point that I want to talk about, that we need a concrete effort, to make sure that once we see the wrong thing, we report it. But we should have a channel of whistleblowing, that we have these galamsey people at this area. The threatening part of what the EPA boss said was that the more we stayed, the more they came. They were coming from the bushes. They are there. Immigration should work to find out these people. NIMOS is doing their work, and I'm saying that NIMOS should be paid well, because we've seen situations where they were being, these Chinese people were trying to bribe them. Now, if you are not paying the NIMOS person well, somebody who is giving a better offer, they will take it. So it's a holistic approach that we have to make. But all Ghanaians, all hands should be on deck so that we cramp down on this illegal mining.
Reinstatement. Chairman of the committee, Joe Osei-Owusu, was speaking at a press conference at the party headquarters in Accra.
members who have forfeited their membership under Article 391 shall be excluded from the process. Therefore, they shall not participate in or vote in the presidential election on Saturday, January 10th. What I do know is that under the Constitution, you lose your membership when you contest against the party's candidate or you campaign for a candidate other than the party's candidate. Automatic. So the party's amnesty was specific. Anybody who has disciplinary proceedings or a punishment hanging on his or her head is being granted general amnesty, except those who have forfeited their membership. Specifically said, if you forfeited your membership, apply. Generally, my view has been that, well, if you forfeit your membership today, you can rejoin. You're a beginner. But until 2 years have elapsed, you do not qualify to compete for any position. So if you had a voting right and you lost your membership, you may have rejoined, but you don't return to your position. You're starting.
We ain't some ahodo team because watching on us. I'm not so Jimmy. I was a senator, so body and a dummy. Unia ever sang us. Aha, a